Alrighty, we are live. Hello, dear star shines. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another edition of the Lunchtime Chat. So glad to have you here. So glad to be here, breathing and having my existence. I arose from my bed today, and for that, I absolutely celebrate. Hello, hello, darling star shines. So as you guys come in, do know that I can't see the numbers, the Rumble numbers necessarily. So be sure to say hi. Let me know that you're there. Hello to Sister Carol. Good to see you. Thank you for saying hi. For those of you who are new, my name is Christina, and I am a consciousness acceleration expert. And we are here to talk about those topics and issues that are significant for us star seeds, way showers, new paradigm visionaries. We have the capacity to navigate these chaotic, challenging times in such a way for us to arrive, help usher humanity arrive in the next level of our unfoldment in a new paradigm. So we have very unique capacities, we have very unique perspectives. And I am here to do to the best of my ability to provide a liberated perspective to those certain pieces that are stressing us out or draining our life force energy, or perhaps we haven't quite decoded yet on how to navigate. And that's a really big piece, because this is part of our function, is figuring out how to decode the disempowerment programs, the old powers over structures, architecture that have been in place for many thousands and thousands of years. So I'm so glad to have you here. Thank you for being here. And of course, I'm glad to even be able to do this sort of chat. So as things come up for you, go ahead and put them in the chats. And if I don't see it, I'm going to ask Beverly if she can make sure that I get forwarded the message. And actually, I'll grab my phone. My apologies. I'll go grab my phone now, so she actually, if she does forward a message, I can actually get it, because my phone is not on me. So hold on one moment, please. All righty, here we go. Okay, I'm squeezing in here in my recliner. Today actually looks like it's not a windy day, but it's actually one of those days where I just did not get myself out the door to be able to do this chat with you outdoors. That's on my mind every week, because it feels so good and expansive being outside versus inside, right? And it's really helpful to dive into these different pieces. But today just was not happening. So many other things. I had my bandwidth. So let's talk about the rise of the grid workers and the impacts that I'm seeing that they are having on helping humanity usher in this new paradigm way of existing. And I also want to talk about, the agents of change, and how even now the humanity as a collective is functioning in alignment with those agents of change to come forward. And it's not a black and white thing. Or a left or right thing or a straight line. It's more of a zig, a zag, a zig, a zag. So I want to talk way more about that, because that's directly connected into the wild card energies that these grid workers are helping, I'd say, facilitate the possibilities of, right? So I'm excited about that. And then, so I was having a vision today, and that was really fascinating. And I want to talk about some really significant headway that humanity is making. And I also want to touch on just how deeply these changes are hitting us to our core. And that's partially why the stress levels are just off the charts right now in the collective. They're off the charts. You go into social media, you won't have to scroll far before you find some sort of alarming, inflammatory, end of something narrative, right? I mean, a lot of people are experiencing their own internal apocalypse now. And this is a very stressful thing to go through, but it's actually something very, very, very necessary. And this is because, we are in a time of great transformation. And if you're not ready and willing and accepting of doing or showing up in the way you need to show up for this transformation to happen, then you are poised, set up, let's say, to experience great suffering. And the suffering can take many, many forms. It could be, having total delusions in your relationship shatter before your eyes. It could be your entire neighborhood getting burnt down. It could be a mudslide that wipes out your town. It could be, a catastrophic, devastating illness. It could be so many different things. But this is the time that we're in, and this is the time that the prophecies, the Mayan calendar, the Hopi, all these different indigenous ancient prophecies have been telling us about, is that the way of the new human is a new human that is resilient and prepared and moving with great change. Okay, prepared and moving with the great change, the great transformation. So these old paradigm structures that have been, let's say, ruling our subconscious over all these tens of thousands of years and the conscious constructs built on that are all now falling apart. And some may use astrology to explain that. Some may use, different prophecies to explain this. There are many different ways to explain or help one understand the kind of transformation that we're in. But, until we make the internal yes to accepting the transformation and the grace and the growth that comes with it, it's going to be a path of suffering. Okay. So I know that sounds bleak, but to other awakened humans, that's very hopeful. That's a really good news. You see, so it really depends. What I just said, how does that land for you? Is it like scary? Like, oh my God, no, I don't want that, right? Then that means you're holding on to some structures that are tagged, let's say, for falling away. And if you're on the other side, you're like, yeah, woohoo! It's like you're letting go of the training wheels, and you're being and you are more willing to surf the wave of change. There are indigenous lineages that have been giving transmissions out to all who are willing to receive them, light body transmissions to help reinform their light body and subconscious so they can be resilient during this time of great chaos, change, and confusion. Okay, so, and actually this is going to go off again, so I need to just shut it off. I have some herbs that I'm taking, and of course, it's right in the middle of the chats. That's the timing. So you guys, let me know if you're feeling what I'm talking about. Is this something that's resonating with you? Is this something that you are navigating? Right? Do you feel like you're consciously navigating these things? So let me start with, so a lot of people really struggle with the falling away because what is erecting in its place, what is rising and erecting in its place is unknown to them. Okay. So what happens is that our conditioning has us in a certain kind of relationship to these structures. So say we've spent the past, 100 lifetimes working out the Piscean age, maybe like, in 25,000 years, we've had maybe, 1,000 incarnations, right? It's possible because we're infinite. And maybe half of those incarnations, you spent a lot of time experimenting and building the constructs you needed to build within your light body, within your soul path, in order to navigate the reality with the rules that were put before you, with the creational rules that were put before you. And you've done that for many hundreds of years, maybe thousands of lifetimes, right? And now here you are again at a time of great transformation, and And the frequencies that we're enveloped in are all now not in alignment, not in support of what those structures were that we participated in for so long. So now this lifetime becomes, about letting these structures fall. How do we let these structures fall? And then facing the fear of what happens when those structures fall. Because really, we adapted those structures because it gave us a sense of control. It gave us a sense of safety. It gave us a sense of well-being. We were, we followed the rules so we wouldn't get exiled out of the tribe, because that in most cases means death. We would, we would do exactly what we need to do in order to live a life according to the baseline program of this biosuit. All this is getting deconstructed. And as the light workers, the grid workers, en masse, there are light workers working en masse. I'm talking about thousands of light workers working together to clear away the debris of the old and anchoring in a new frequency of structure, of blueprints. And once that anchors in, then that will actually become the architecture. But then here's the rub. The architecture gets settled in. Now humanity has to wake up over their, out of the haze. Humanity has to wake up out of the constructs, the illusions, delusions they built based upon the ego driver, based upon, the subconscious. So we have these subconscious structures that fall away. We have conscious structures that are built of those falling away structures. And we maintain them by emotionally charging them, constantly revisiting them, doing things like this. We maintain the structure. But once the structure falls away, when we go back to reach for it, it's not there anymore. And then there's a little bit of an uh-oh when it's not there anymore. But that is our opportunity to redial into what's inside, recheck in with what's inside, and discover something else in front of us. Now, agents of change are before us. And a great example is our whole team of our new administration. And I don't mean just Trump. There's Trump. He was certainly an agent of change. But there's also Elon, agent of change. There's also RFK, agent of change. There's also a few other appointments, cabinet appointments, that are all tasked to make big changes. Now, I'm not saying these changes aren't a double-edged sword. They most certainly are. And I'm not saying that all these beings are all 100% benevolent and blessed by God, are doing the work of great spirit in their motivations. I'm not saying that at all either. But this is where we have to wake up to a new way of thinking. And this is what these agents of change are here to do. They're not here to save us like what would have happened in the Piscean age that we're coming out of. No. They're here to wake us up to thinking in different ways, thinking differently about the world, busting us out of the blinders of the hypnotizing narratives that we have been fed over all these decades. Many decades, these narratives have been very carefully crafted and cultivated to make our decision making, to make our behavior very predictable and controllable. So you've heard the phrase divide and conquer. United we stand, divided we're conquered, right? So this is the game. Now we are having these agents of change come into our reality and take control over our power structures so they can initiate the new ways of thinking. Initiate new ways of thinking. Our perceptions is what creates our reality. We know this, and our perceptions are based on our conditionings, our trauma dramas, our woundings, our belief system. Okay, all these things. That's the only thing that's all that shapes our perception. As soon as we wake up our divine mind, our higher mind, we have the ability to have a flexible perception. And once our perception becomes flexible, we have more freedom. We have more freedom to orientate. We have more freedom to see things in different ways, which means different choices get laid out to us. When we feel like we're being locked into a choice, that, my friends, is an illusion. That is a result of limited thinking. That is a result of limited perceptions, a result of these old constructs. So think about the change that we're going through, something maybe a little bit closer to the Bolshevik rebellion. This is something that happened in Russia as a revolution. And this is where the tyranny was overthrown by the people. Okay, but what that particular drama showed us is that there was a power that invested and empowered the people up to a certain point, and then once triumph was complete or assured, then they turned on those very people and massacred them all. Put them in jail, persecuted them. Many of them fled. I know my own family was involved in the fleeing of that. So there is a treacherous path to change. The thing is that now the supporting nesting cosmic structures, celestial structures, are not situated the same way as they were before, which means the kind of treachery is different than what it was back then. It might have a similar playbook, but it's not the same kind of energy. And this is because, oh good, I get to shut this off now. and this is because humanity has to be given the chance to wake up and decide. Now, and I don't mean decide in the political arena. I'm talking about deciding in more of the 5D field and beyond. We can decide our trajectory. And like I was saying in the chats last week, when we wake up and navigate from our own inner compass, we become the captain at the helm. We all have an individual vote to how our sun and planet travel through time and space, what kinds of timelines unfold, what types of experiences are set up for humanity to facilitate for spirit. Okay. So what I saw in my vision today was there were structures that were put in place that, so imagine, just bring into your awareness again the nesting doll nature of our reality. And I'll start with the galactic plane. Let's make the outer nesting doll the galactic plane, and then the inner nesting doll, and then the inner nesting doll, all the way through the celestial world to the Pachamama. And in these spheres, there are some spheres that are all about constructs, and some spheres that are all about the movement of free will. So you have blueprints, and then the blueprints are imbued with consciousness and experienced and explored. So what I saw was these other overlays that were put in on the different nesting doll levels, and these were power over dynamics based in trauma dramas from Orion Wars and other kinds of things. There were power over dynamics based in the history of the seeding of life of this planet, which actually started billions of years ago, according to ancient lore. And when I'm talking about ancient lore, I'm talking about the cultures that maintain the oral traditions beyond 40 and 50,000 years. And yes, people, there are cultures, there are tribes alive today on this planet that have preserved their stories and their wisdom teachings, and even their herbal formulas that go back more than 40,000 years. Now that will blow the mind of the average person. But I've met these people. It's true. I even have had some of their herbal mixtures, right? So the herbal mixture is, you either burn it or you put it in your mouth and you sit with the energy of it, and it reinforms you with a consciousness stream via plant medicine. It's not hallucinogenic or anything, but via plant medicine going all the way back before the times of Atlantis, before the ice ages. Okay. A time when magic was the way of life. Magic was how we lived in this realm, I'll call it. So the constructs, going back to these infiltrating constructs, what I saw was that these constructs have been in place for so long. Much of humanity has based their reality off of the distortion of the construct. So that could be, our 4D structures can be included in that, government, military, education, food, medicines, right? There's that. But there's also aspects of dream time that were also built in relationship to these constructs. I'm talking about the way we approach dream time, the way we approach tapping into the realms of the ancestors, the way we approach tapping into the realms of spirit, the mystery school teachings, stuff like this. Many of them also were structurally orientated to these distortions in these nesting dolls. And even in the here and now, whether you're spiritually inclined or not, you are still informed by those structures and your subconscious, and then your personality, your ego driver, pretty much all of the things that create stability and safety in your life are built on these distortions. Okay, they are built in relationship to these distortions. And what I saw was that these distortions and these outing nesting dolls, due to the amazing work of our grid workers, thank you, darlings. They are young and old. I know grid workers from all generations, some of them more public than others. But I'm telling you, keep doing what you're doing, because it really feels like the new architecture and blueprints that you're clearing things away to anchor. It is working. It is absolutely working. So now these constructs, our ego driver, our subconscious, our physical world, all the different things in this 3D nesting doll that were being supported by these distorted constructs. Now those constructs have fallen away. So now there is not much in the third 3D realm supporting these let's say mechanisms that are giving us principles of safety, of security. Okay, the way you feel like you maintain control in your world, well, a lot of that was built on delusions. It's going to fall away. I don't know how much time it's going to take to fall away, just that it's going to fall away. It's inevitable that it falls away because of the distortion. These outer nesting dolls are dissolving. They're quite literally melting. Okay. And this is definitely causing a deep anxiety and stress, having these, because even though we might not consider ourselves intuitive or psychic or whatever, everybody is. It's just that we are taught that it doesn't mean anything. We are taught that these certain gut feelings and hits are you making it up. We're taught a distorted relationship to what our intuition is telling us. But the fact is, we are all feeling it without realizing that's what we're feeling. Okay. And for those of us who are very, on that path, that spiritual path of clearing the way, we experience it very quickly. We experience it very directly, actually, versus the ones that are deeply anchored and deeply buried, let's say, in the density of these other delusions, dark forces, we can call it. And this is where I go back to saying, those of us who are awake to this and are choosing willingly and with our prayers and our intention and our creative forces, choosing to work with this time of transition, with this time of change, we are going to experience our pain. We're going to experience our heartbreak and relive maybe some trauma and panic and stuff like that. Yet it's not going to break us. It just makes us come forward even more strong in our spirit. And it also has the potential of sparing us of total destruction, such as having your neighborhood burnt down or washed away, like in North Carolina, or a tsunami coming and wiping out your entire village, or those mudslides. I mean, I'm really, really in an interesting place with the kinds of disasters that are happening in this world. Yes, I can tap into that pain and completely be with each and every person in their heartbreak. I could do that. And I do that sometimes when it's upon me, right? To be with another when they're in their heartbreak. But there's a point in time, where one has to face, is it my task to stay in this zone of heartbreak, betrayal, pain, fear, suffering? Is that my path that I walk in this life? Is that what I choose to have for myself? Okay, you have that, you ask yourself these kinds of questions, and then, that nudging will come forward saying, no, there's more, there's so much more that you have the capacity to bring into this world. And for me, it's like I come into a reconciliation process. It's like, what beauty, what gifts can I use my life force energy and bandwidth to bring forward into this world? Okay, and my particular signature is bringing harmony, empowering, liberating. That's what my frequency does when I bring it forward to the world. So the question is, do I do that, or do I stay in the suffering? Or does the suffering and the pain and the heartbreak and the betrayal, all those energies, does this being in it more and more and more and more, does this serve this other part? You all have to decide where you are in this. But I'm saying this so you can really get clear and complete within yourself about seeing through the suffering and choosing light, love, joy, beauty, service, right? Choosing the more integral principles of what you're here for, right? You are here on this planet for a reason. Now, if you want to believe it's to be in suffering and fear, I mean, you're going to live that. But if you believe that it's for a much bigger purpose, a higher purpose, then, it's up to you to straighten yourself out and walk that, right? Reconcile what needs to get reconciled inside of you to walk that. And it's messy, it's scary, it's all those things. But it's also miraculous, because every time you follow your intuition and you get a feedback loop of how amazing and right on that was, or you get a feedback loop of the impact that was created by you simply doing something that brought you joy or peace or whatever, that feedback loop is so nourishing. It is so nourishing to feel that your presence in this world has a positive, uplifting effect. So our old ways of thinking has to shatter. These distortions that were in this outer nesting doll that's getting dissolved and replaced with upgraded architecture, means that in the 3D world, in this more, closer to what we call a 3D experience, those old ways of thinking have to shatter. The black and white thinking has to shatter. This, in the pain of it shattering, we are going to perceive what actually is. We're going to start perceiving what's actually happening around us, so we can make an informed choice. You know, free will choice has been drastically usurped in this reality via the mechanisms of cloaks and lies and deceptions, and you know what I mean, through, you know, all this stuff. So we think we're in a rock and a hard place, but it was actually all a construct to make us feel that way, so we make a decision from that place inside, right? So, you know, this is what we're waking out of. It's this illusion delusion that locks us. It has us feeling locked in a certain path. We wake up and that all those old ways start to shatter. We're faced with figuring, you know, thinking differently. And luckily that arises very quickly. When your old reality shatter, the new one starts arising from within you very quickly if we let it. And then if we embrace that, we'll be able to allow this new way of thinking to open our eyes and shed the fear and the fear of having those blinders removed, so we can actually start making proper choices for this planet, for ourselves, for this solar ring. Now, so part of, all right, if you go to any media outlet, alternative media, mainstream media, social media, whatever media outlet, if you turn to any of those, you will see the chaos in front of you. Right? It doesn't matter if you're left or right, blue or red, up or down, libertarian. It doesn't matter what political spectrum, social spectrum. It doesn't matter any of those things. When you go onto the internet and you're experiencing social media, you're experiencing alternative media, you're experiencing mainstream media, you are stepping into a reality that is constructed just for your perceptions. You are stepping into a reality created, maintained, and designed by an algorithm. And you really need to let that sink in. You are engaging with an illusion delusion system designed to impulse you to go in certain directions, okay? To engage in certain ways. Some of the algorithm is about keeping you engaged for as long as possible. Other parts of the algorithm is to trigger emotional reactions. Other parts of the algorithm is to sell you something, right? So there's all this complex matrix of algorithm that you're interacting with anytime you're turning on your computer and going online, or phone or tablet or whatever, right? You are studied. Every detail of your behavior is studied. There are more than 2 million data points. There are more than 2 million data points about you informing these algorithms. Okay. It's very, very important that we let that sink in, because this is going to help us with the task of thinking differently. Okay. My kids actually woke me up to this, because I talk with them and they have kind of like out there things. And yes, some of it is, influenced by their community. I mean, they're both creative people. They're in a younger demographic. There's a lot of, of the DEI social constructs. There's a lot of alternative, what, compared to my generation, alternative ways of looking at things. And they are fully aware that everything is specifically curated for them. Parts of them really like it because when they can find what they're looking for easily. Other parts of them are just like, yeah, this is pretty scary. It's actually creepy, but I don't know what to do about it, so I'm going to go with it. But they're making that mental note to themselves. You're not going to be able to believe anything that's put in front of you, right? So they're already like on notice that everything and everybody has a line of BS to get you to do this, do that, or whatever. It's like they're already, their compass for what's less than truth is already getting sharpened at such a young age. When I was 20 something, I really was not with it. I mean, I was a mom, but I just still was not, you know how we look back when we're, when you're older, you look back when you're younger and you think, oh my God, if I only knew that, what I know now. Anyway. All right. So this is the really cool thing, is that more and more, so all right, let me step back. So there's those constructs that are in those outer nesting dolls that are informing the different ways we relate to certain systems, and we have all these systems, the media, the all those different layers of systems, right? And then we also have our own behavior, our own personal ego driver, our own personal, our personality of who we think we are, that's also been brought up from the moment of conception through birth to through our upbringing, brought up to be in relationship to these distortions. Now humanity's inner awakening is already underway, and how I can see this is that so when I go on to social media and other things, I'm already prepared with the lens of everything that's being shown to me is to inform me about what the program is, right? What's the program I'm supposed to be buying into right now? I don't buy into the program, but because I already have that poised, that poise when I approach, it's I'm not hooked into it as much. Occasionally I might get a hook, but usually it's all right. The things that really catch me is when I see a friend really in suffering, and I want to help them wake up out of it. But let me get going. So the change is happening very quickly, and our systems like media and that kind of stuff have yet to catch up. The algorithms are highly advanced, but they're still in a archaic format. And this is where the WBAN and that other stuff gets in here, but I'm not going to go into that because that's something that is highly controversial, and it'll take me away from these points. And plus I wouldn't be able to do it on YouTube. I'd have to shut the YouTube off. Okay. So what's going on is how I see so much of humanity waking up is that, the Trump team has come in. They're these agents of change. No doubt they're dubious characters. No doubt that, there's definitely things that are not in, let's say, in integrity or truth with them. But at the same time, they're doing, and this is probably the first time I've seen in all my, half century ever seen a politician do, they're actually fulfilling their campaign promises. Now, I'm sure that's strategic, but they're actually doing what they said they're going to do, which is the first time I think anybody in the United States has ever experienced that, right? Because there's always campaign promises, and then there's the actual what's happened. I mean, that's what we got with, with was that with the Bushes and with Obama and Clinton, and you know what I mean. Every single one of them had all these campaign promises, but never ever followed through on them, especially about the wars. All right, so I guess Obama did a little bit with Obamacare, but hold on a second. I want to share a story. There's something called reverse speech, and a dear friend at the time, what we would do is that we would take YouTube videos of different politicians speaking and other people speaking, and then we would reverse speech it, play it, record it, put it through a sound clarifier, and then play it in reverse. And pretty much all of Obama's speeches, what he said in reverse revealed that, he didn't believe any of it was going to happen. I mean, he gave a great speech, very inspirational. People were like, yeah, rah, rah. But him himself in the reverse speech revealed that he didn't believe that any of it was going to happen. And when I listened to that, because I was super pro Obama, I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. And then this friend took me through other recordings of people, including myself, to show me just how right on this reverse speech is. So, it's hard to accept things that we don't want to be true. It is. It's hard to accept things that we don't want to be true. But we are at this time of change, and we are the souls that we won the arm wrestling match to come here and have a body and walk through this. So that's definitely for a reason, and it's not to be part of the program. So these dubious characters are bringing in change. And one of the big immediate changes I'm seeing that's showing how woke up people are is with these inflamed media narratives on all sides, right? There's left, right, and center, all these media narratives that are inflaming, causing fear, causing panic, causing suspicion. They're doing all these angles that to get a rise out of people. And what I'm noticing collectively, a lot of people are not buying into it, and it's actually waking them up even further. Now, the exception would be those who are addicted to outrage. Now, those guys, which I'm going to say is probably about 30% of the greater whole, that they're absolutely full on addicted to outrage. You know, there's a dopamine receptors for that. And if you don't fill that with something else, you know, you get addicted to it. So you actually look for things to inflame you. And the algorithms, believe me, will read that quickly and give you plenty of ammunition, plenty of things to get outraged about and up in arms about, right? So maybe 30% are those outrage addicts, and those are the ones that are getting highlighted the most on social media and media circles, because they're trying to take that 30% and blow it up and make us think it's the majority, so we feel alone, so we feel separated from where everybody else is at. But the cure for that is, as soon as we pick up the phone or go to a gathering or have dinner with go to a dinner party and connect with friends, we realize, oh, okay, it's all good. You know what I mean? Once you can have these conversations and see through them. Now, I go through different social circles. I have a lot of different networks of people. Some are very, very left leaning. Some are very, very right leaning. And I have to say, when I'm interacting, I am much more on edge when I'm in the left leaning circles. Because if there's a whiff of me saying anything that could be a narrative that they identify that's against them, you know what I mean? There's a reaction to endure, right? There's the centered friends, and actually most of my circles are very, very centered. They see the chaos and BS on both sides and just kind of stay in the center. My centered friends, it's all good. We just don't even bother wasting energy on it. And the right leaning friends, they definitely are passionate, and at the same time way more accepting. Now I mean, all I need to do is engage with them, and they can see that I might think differently than them, but I also accept them for thinking differently than me, and then it's all okay and it's no big deal. And unfortunately, that's not necessarily happening in the more left leaning realities. I really would love to see that happen, so we can wake up out of the haze even quicker and get busy getting clear about what's actually in front of us and what are the informed choices we need to be making as a collective. Because the choices we need to be making as a collective is so beyond the structured narrative that we're fed by the news and our president. All these, they're doing all these new conferences and podcasts, and they're only telling us a carefully curated position. They're not telling us the whole truth. I was listening to a podcaster, I can't remember his name now, Alexander something, black hair, he has black hair, white guy, black hair. He interviewed Bernie Sanders a way back. And there's something that Bernie Sanders said in that interview that just like hit me like a ton of bricks. And it made me realize that, a lot of our politicians, the ones that really care, it's like they are walking a very, very fine line, of what they can say and what they can't say. And I feel like that he let a bomb drop in a way that was super, um, unsuspecting, but the way he said it and how he said it landed on me so heavily. I was like, that was him, that was him being true to his conscience to drop a truth bomb, right? So it's like they talk in code to us. If you have the eyes to hear and the hearts to listen, you'll realize that some of them are talking in code. The ones that really care are talking in code, so to speak. And what he said was, he said the things that are really important for our country and our people are not at all what we talk about. He said that. And that landed on me like a ton of bricks. I knew what he's saying was the truth. Now, I also got the feeling that that is him treading that fine line of what you can and cannot say publicly when you are in the trenches, so to speak, of our political system, our federal system especially, right? So this is a this is something, this is why it's so important that we wake up out of those narratives and open our minds into thinking about things differently, so we don't confine our questions and our curiosity to those carefully structured narratives. Instead, we intuitively come up with the questions that we need to be asking. Okay, and the kinds of questions we need to be, well, there's more technology we need to wake up out of. We think that there were certain kinds of technology are much more limited than they actually are. So we need to wake up and see first just how advanced the technology is, especially like the WBAN and the nanite technology, the robot, the self-replicating robots, the graphene oxide, the applications, the very advanced applications of biosensors. Okay, they are far, far more advanced than what is known commonly in public. Okay, and if we did have an understanding of just how advanced things are, well, first you're in shock because you're like, holy crap, why was I so blind to this? Because once it's laid out in front of you, it's very clear. Right, it's just dealing with it after you realize it. But so we get the shock of realizing there's realities in place that we were totally oblivious to. But once we realize they're there, then we can step into really getting into what needs to be asked, what actually needs to be talked about. And as we collectively resonate with what's truly important for us to ask, what's truly important for us to talk about, then we will be met by the sincere podcasters, the sincere narrators, the ones that truly want to inform us, will start meeting us on those lines versus the controlled opposition and the other kinds of ways that the narratives get controlled. All right, hold on one second. We have it. Dear Sister Starshine. Hey, Beverly. She says, yeah, everyone here is shit talking about the tariffs. Ha ha ha. And just throw a wrench into the convo. I say, I think it's a good thing. Tends to shut the conversation to silence. And she says, oh, the peace and quiet. Oh, that's funny. I can totally see you doing that. That's great. Yes, and us coming forward with us, we are the medicine, folks. We are the medicine. It's just that it doesn't look like the kumbaya that we've imagined all those years ago in our spiritual awakening. No, 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 no. It's much more messy than that. It's much more terrifying than that. We are being asked to step forward, with our authentic self, our authentic nature. You know what I mean? We're being asked to do that. We're being invited, even some of us coerced, into doing that. And the thing is, the more you do that, the more addictive it gets. And you start becoming passionate about being authentic and true and clear and transparent. You know what I mean? You start to become really passionate about that because the freedom of being that way starts to set in, and the power of being that way starts to set in, and then we're like, wow, yeah, cool, wow, right? And then the shackles that were on us, the shackles that were on our our perceptions, in the way we think about things, those come off, and now we're way more flexible inside. We're way more flexible, way more resilient psychologically, emotionally. Our creativity becomes exponentially more vast in its potential. And this is what we're going towards. I mean, we're only in the beginning, right? So those of us who are on this path, we experience the big stuff first, very soon, because we're like, rip the Band-Aid off, get it over with so I can move on with my life, right? That's how we are, or we're becoming. And that is really how we live with these times. And that is cultivating as much flexibility, integrity, and truth that we can. So the more we align ourselves to what the truth is, what is the truth inside? What is the truth I'm engaging in? The more we do that, the more potent our energy becomes. This is kind of why, people will also be really afraid of us because they don't want that kind of truth. The power games, the manipulation doesn't land the same way when you're working with someone who has a high commitment to the truth, right? So we're in these times together. To transform means to suffer. Okay, that's an equal sign right there. Transformation equals suffering. And that's going to be that way until it's not. And what's the deciding factor when it's not? Is when you wake up and realize that we are in a wild ride. We are in a wild surfing reality that's constantly changing, shifting, moving. And the best place for us to be is on that surfboard, surfing the change, surfing the waves, trusting ourselves, trusting our moves, trusting our intentions. You know what I mean? Really resourcing from deep within. Someone was telling me, the act of surfing is actually a really, really powerful spiritual practice because it forces you to step out of the pattern of being informed by fear, because you constantly have to step past your fear, step past your physical apprehensions. You have to really constantly step up, step up, step up, and retrain your body, your mind, your emotions to orientate to the unknown and to have very quick reflexes and be truly fully engaged with your capacities in that moment on that wave. And because of that, it is said that's partially why so many I'm going to say avid surfers gravitate towards a lifestyle, a certain kind of lifestyle, constantly shedding fears. Can you imagine if there was a high school course where everybody had to learn how to surf? That would be cool. then that would really bring home, your capacities, your abilities. A lot of people are in the process of breaking out of this feeling of being inconsequential, worthless, powerless, impotent, right? There's a lot of people that are, in this rock, in this place where they can't move, and they're just experiencing those same things over and over again, collapsing in on themselves. Now, maybe some will collapse in on themselves, but others are going to wake up. The flame is going to become a lit. The flame will become a lit within their system, and those barriers will fall away and they will be born again. And if they feed that flame, if they surround themselves with people who feed that flame, a star is born. And you can rest assured we're going to definitely be shining, right? And the shining isn't about power. It's about love. It's about compassion. It's about really being willing to know, really being willing to see, being willing to accept, and that's a hard thing for a lot of us, especially when what we're being asked to see, what we're being asked to know goes against what we thought was the truth, what we thought was so. And that is where we are as a collective right now. We have the chess pieces getting set on the grand chess board, and the games are about to begin. And it's going to unfold very, very quickly, suddenly, some of it with great passion, and some of it will be tried in secret. The upside to the AI advancements is that there is a quantum technology that we're going towards bringing online. Some people are afraid of it, but I'm going to encourage you guys, don't be afraid of that, because once things go onto the quantum level, the technology goes onto the quantum level, There are no secrets anymore. Things cannot be done in the shadows. Doesn't mean charades don't happen. Charades may still happen, sure, but things aren't done covertly and invisibly anymore, because once it all comes into the quantum, anybody can see it, tap into it, talk about it, report about it, bring it forward into the awareness of the collective, right? And there are people who have that mission. I mean, you guys see these guys, they are on a mission to, because they're passionately reporting, what they investigate. Whitney Webb is a great example. Though I do have to say, be careful how much of that you listen to, in the sense that be prepared to bring your decoding skills, your interdimensional decoding skills when you listen to her investigative journalism. We are here to decode, to find that path of liberation and freedom amongst chaos and confusion, revealing truths where there's lies. This is our job. This is what we're doing, right? So, I'm saying this to encourage you guys, be gentle with yourselves. Don't beat yourselves up. Take good care. Take good self-care. Do it when you feel strong and you feel ready. Don't feel like you have to know all the terrible things now, where then you're going to suffer for a few days, weeks, right? We are all in this together. We're all showing up, and the progress is happening. The progress is absolutely happening. The collective is waking up from the inside out, whether they know it or not, whether they're spiritually inclined or not. It is happening. I can feel it. I can see it. It's there. The dream time is cracking open as well in different ways. The elemental field, the elemental realm, is making so many connections and is really busy, waking people up out of the deeper haze of illusion, delusion, right? And this is really about our direct capacity to work with the elemental forces to create what we want. These are miracles that's happening on that front. And then, we have the power structures and the wild cards put into place to create agents of change. I had several star shines, talk with me when they were facing elections and wanting to know what to do. And, my response was the same to them. And that is, you have to vote your conscience. And this isn't black and white. It's like you're voting what you want your life force energy to participate in. Okay. And overwhelmingly, not necessarily liking the guy, but overwhelmingly, humans knew that it was Trump that was going to bring the change. And I feel like that's why he was voted in. Not necessarily because they believed in A, B, and C that he talked about, but they did it because they knew deep down in the bones that if change was going to happen, he was the guy that was going to bring it. Now, it doesn't mean we have control over the change. No. We ride the wild ride of discovery for a while. And then once the discovery happens, then we can orientate and see where we are and make a true decision, one that we feel good with. So it's taken some time, but we're getting there. I think this time, well, in the next few months, many of us are going to be awoke to those other layers. But this time next year, I feel like humanity will be really prime and ready to see the writing that's on the wall in regards to what is actually important for us to be talking about, rather than, the cultivated narratives. All righty. So if you guys want to step into empowerment about these pieces, want to step into how do I face these changes? How do I become resilient in this time of change? How do I manage reality, right? I want to invite you guys into the Light Body Essentials program that we have, because everything that we do in those meetings, we have 3 meetings a month where we do group work, is all about cultivating your light body in such a way, cultivating your relationship to reality in such a way so you can feel supported from within when you are facing the unknown. So you have the tools you need to stay centered and grounded and anchored inside of yourself, while you're also kind of like shaking in your boots and make decisions from your core self versus make decisions out of fear. So it's a amazing program. We are doing work every single month, and you're also learning how to track energy multidimensionally, which is a more advanced level, but it's necessary. We really need to understand that we have perceptions. All of us do, whether we realize it or not. We all have perceptions that extend into the interdimensional realms. So the more you practice that, the sharper that's going, the more keen and sharp you're going to get on that. And then we're going to, you're going to be that much more empowered. So I encourage you guys to check that out. That is the Light Body Essentials program. And then, of course, if you guys really are, anybody wants to start stepping up as the great magician that they are, there's the Dreamtime Healing Project. And that's just taking the interdimensional tracking and skills to a whole nother level into Dreamtime, where we start to melt the division between the waking dream and the sleeping dream. We start melting the division where they, become more of an overlap. And that is also very, very activating to advance skills in your light body. So that's the Dreamtime Healing Project. Okay, so what we have coming up is a free clearing. Stacy's has a free clearing at the end of the month. That's the last Sunday, and that is an energy clearing. That is a Sunday morning. And then what else do we have coming up? I think that's it for the free stuff. If you guys want to be informed about our events, I encourage you guys to check out, go to our website, sign up for the newsletter, and you'll be informed about all the free stuff that we do. And then also the other individual things that you can sign up for and explore yourself with. All right, darlings, that is it for me. My time is up. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Carol, for letting me know that. That's awesome. Carol says, wow, the talk today has been phenomenal. Thank you. That's really amazing. I appreciate that so much. And then, until next time, guys, I hope you make it a great week. And if there's anything you really want me to talk about, please email us. WeCare@lightbodyacademy.com. You can just email that right in. That's probably the best way. Social media comments don't always make it full circle to me, or if they do, they don't necessarily stick with me until Thursday. So sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It depends on how it comes to me. Do know that there are times when people, send me a bunch of things like the morning of, and I don't have time to watch those things, right? So if you want me to talk about something or go into something with you, for you, I invite you guys to email us at WeCare@lightbodyacademy.com. Okay, thank you guys. That's it for me. Love you. See you next time.